Today we're looking at the vertex of a quadratic. Your essential question is, how do I find minimums and maximums of quadratics? Your learning intention, I'm learning to find the vertex of a quadratic. We've looked at quadratics before. A lot of the time your quadratics in a word problem are a projectile motion. So we looked at where they actually would hit the ground, like if you threw a ball in the air, where it would hit the ground. But we never really looked at finding the vertex. So today we're going to find the vertex. Your warm-up question, a ball is launched from a 40.96 foot tall platform. The function for the ball's height at time t in seconds after launch is your height defined by t is equal to negative 16t squared plus 40.96, where h is the height in feet. When does the object hit the ground? Pause the video and see if you can do this one on your own. Well, I do hope you tried. When it hits the ground, what would the height be? The height would be 0. So we're actually solving for 0. 0 is equal to negative 16 t squared plus 40.96. First step, subtract 40.96 from both sides. Okay, so negative 40.96 is equal to negative 16t squared. What is my next step? Divide by negative 16 on both sides. Now, I'm going to use a calculator to make sure I do it correctly. 40.96 divided by 16, 2.56. I know it's got to be positive because it's a negative divided by a negative. So 2.56 is equal to t squared. What is the opposite of squaring? Square rooting. So t will be equal to the square root of 2.56. Second square root 2.56, and I end up with 1.6. What does that mean? The ball will hit the ground in 1.6 seconds. Okay, so you launch it off, and in less than 2 seconds it actually hits the ground. So today we're going to look at finding the vertex. The minimum or maximum of a quadratic will be that vertex. Now, using the standard form, which is that form y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, if it's in standard form, you find the x-coordinate by using the formula x is equal to the opposite of b divided by 2a. Use that value and you use the x value you found to find y. So it's a 2 steps to be able to do this. First step, when we did the quadratic formula, we needed c. Do we need c for these? No, just a and b. So let's identify A, let's identify B. A is equal to 1, B is equal to 4. To find X, it is the opposite of B, which is 4, divided by 2 times A, 2 times 1. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Now, I have to substitute into my equation. Y is equal to negative 2 squared plus 4 times negative 2 plus 5. Guess what? It's easiest to use a calculator. Make sure you put it in correctly. Parentheses, negative 2, close my parentheses and square it, plus 4 times negative 2 plus 5, and I get 1. Y is equal to 1. So my vertex will be the point, negative 2, comma 1. You can always check it with a graphing calculator by putting that equation in and seeing where the vertex is. So I'm going to look at y equals. I've got it in there. I'm going to hit graph. You notice we have a minimum. So I do second trace, and I want the minimum, which is 3. I've got to go to the left side. Left bound means left side of your point. Now it wants the right bound, so I go across to the right side of the point. I hit enter one more time and it gives me my point at negative 2, positive 1, which is what we had found. Okay, can you find A and B? If you notice, my coefficient here was positive and it opened up. It's negative. This will be a maximum. So A is equal to negative 2, B is equal to negative 16. My X will be equal to the opposite of negative 16 divided by 2 times negative 4, or negative 2. Jumped ahead to the answer there. Okay. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Negative 16 divided by negative 4 is positive 4. The opposite of positive 4 is negative 4. Okay, now I'm going to use my x value to find my y. Y is equal to negative 2 times negative 4 squared minus 16 times negative 4 minus 35. Remember, it's always easiest if you know how to put it in a calculator, and you will not have the chance of having a math error as easy. So negative 2 times parenthesis negative 4 parenthesis squared minus 16 times negative 4 minus 35. We get negative 3. So that vertex, that maximum, is going to be the point negative 4, negative 3. Once again, we can always put it in the calculator and make sure we've got the correct point. Okay, for the next one, on your own, can you find your vertex? Is it going to open up or is it going to open down? This is negative, so I am going to have a maximum. Okay, pause the video and do the next one on your own. Okay, I hope you tried. Let's check the answer. A is equal to -2. B is equal to -8. X will be equal to the opposite of -8 divided by 2 times -2. Okay, 2 times -2 is -4. -8 divided by -4 is +2. It's still the opposite of +2, so X will be -2. What about Y? Y is equal to -2 times -2 squared minus 8 times -2 minus 11. -2 times parenthesis -2 parenthesis squared minus 8 times -2 minus 11. And it is again -3. So that vertex is -2, -3. We're going to check it with the calculator. If you've noticed, I've got it put in the calculator. I'm going to hit graph. And you can see where it's at this time. I will hit second trace, and I want the maximum. So I'm going to hit that number 4. Okay, left bound, it's got it at 0, -11, so I know I've got to come up and go to this side. Left bound means left side of your point. I hit enter. I go to the south side, the other side of my point. I hit enter again. It gives me the guess. I really don't care. When I hit enter a third time, it gives me the point -2, -3. So you can find it by hand and then use the calculator to check, or vice versa. Okay, an object is launched directly upward at 64 feet per second from a platform that's 80 feet high. What will be the object's maximum height, and when will it attain this height? Okay, so there's 2 parts to this problem. First, we're going to find the vertex, which will be a maximum. Then we will figure out how long it takes to get there. That means we substitute in again. So our A is -16. Our B is 64. X is found by the opposite of 64 divided by 2 times -16. Okay. So 2 times 16 is 32. It's going to be 64 divided by -32, which gives me a -2. The opposite of -2 is a +2. So to find Y, -16 times 2 squared plus 64 times 2 plus 80. -16 times 2 squared. I'm going to have to clear that. -16 times 2 squared. I could have put in 4 because I know what it is. plus 64 times 2 plus 80. And I end up with 144. So my vertex is the point 2, 144. So in 2 seconds, it is at its maximum height, which will be 144 feet. In 2 seconds, it hits the maximum. Of 144 feet. Okay, any questions? Let's look at the vertex form of our quadratic. We've been working with the standard form. The vertex form kind of reminds you of a circle, the equation of a circle. You've got x minus h, a times x minus h plus k, where hk is the vertex. So if I'm looking at the vertex here, I know that h will be equal to 2 and k will be equal to -4. This should be plus. If this is plus, then that means my k is going to be negative. So my vertex is the point 2, -4. Okay, for the next one, we want a graph. First thing I'm going to do is to find where the vertex is. So looking at my vertex, x is, let's see, my vertex is the point. So this should be x minus, but it's plus. So that tells me my h is going to be -2. My k is going to be -1. So -2, -1 is right here. So I can go either way and use those numbers to find another point. What if I use -3? -3 plus 2 is -1. -1 squared is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. What if I go to -1? -1 plus 2 is -1. -1 squared is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. What number shall I try next? Should I try 4? Do I want... Because you know when you're squaring, it's going to get really big really quick. So let's go -4. -4 plus 2 is -2. -2 squared, and -2 squared is 4. 4 minus 1 is 3. Okay, if I do 0, 0 plus 2 is 2. 2 squared. 2 squared is 4. 4 minus 1 is 3. So, you allowed me to make a mistake. What is my mistake? I have this as a maximum when it should be a minimum. I've got it correct in my table. These should both be at 0. But I did not have it correct on my graph. So -4 goes up to 1, 2, 3. 0 goes up to 3. If I did -5, so this would be -5 plus 2 is -3. -3 squared is 9. 9 minus 1 is 8. So I can go 5 and then go clear up to 8. And I can also go 1 over here and go clear up to 8 again, because I know they are going to be, this is my line of symmetry down the middle, and my graph will look like this. So how do you know when you're successful? You know you're successful when you can find the vertex of a quadratic and you can graph that quadratic. So your vertex remember, x is equal to the opposite of b divided by 2a. Then you've got to find your y value by plugging and chugging. Hopefully that helps you understand a little bit better.